Alright guys, welcome to our top 5 video. This is top 5 blunders during the Civil War, ranked from number 5 to number 1. This is by Christian Heddy, Jake Biss, and Jack Mullins. In the Civil War, there were many blunders that happened. Many mistakes were made, but there are a few that really stick out, like soldiers accidentally shooting their own commanders, generals declaring victory too early, and some generals just deciding not to do anything when presented golden opportunities to change the tide of war. So starting in at our number 5 spot, we have the Battle of Bull Run. The Battle of Bull Run was one of the earlier battles in the Civil War. This battle was newly appointed Brigadier General McDowell and an army of around 30,000 untrained troops. They were up against General P.G.T. Beauregard, who was getting pushed back a good amount, until Stonewall Jackson's army came to reinforce him. The Union retreated, but when they were retreating, there were a lot of people in the way of their retreat. It was either run through many people to retreat or run into Confederates. This was a blunder on the people there for just sitting in the way of a whole army's retreat, but not a very big blunder because still, even though many men got caught up, most still made a successful retreat to Washington. So this one was at our number 5 spot simply just because it wasn't as severe as some of the other battles that we have on here. Moving on, number 4, we have the Road at Petersburg. The road at Petersburg was just a normal road where Pennsylvania mining workers dug underground and blew up a huge hole. The miners dug holes under the Confederate fortifications and then blew it all up. This left behind a massive breach the Union could get through. With a chance of winning the war at hand, the Union rushed in. This caused the death of about 6,000 Union soldiers. Brigadier General James Ledley's forces were set to lead the way. Ledley's forces entered the crater and milled about at the bottom awaiting orders. A Confederate counterattack slaughtered the Union soldiers like sitting ducks. Inexplicably. This was a decent blunder, and it was because the 6,000 soldiers that lost their lives, because they all decided to stand around in a crater, which wasn't very smart to do, and the general should have put more thought into what they were doing. Coming in at our number 3 spot, we have the Battle of Shiloh. So the Battle of Shiloh was the first major battle on the Western Front. It pitted Ulysses S. Grant against General Albert Sidney Johnston. The Battle of Shiloh was in a small town in Tennessee, and the Confederates were hoping for a huge victory. Johnston's forces started swiftly and pushed Grant's forces back into the banks of Tennessee, known as the Hornet's Nest. While in the Hornet's Nest, Grant's men did very well defending, even killing Johnston. When Johnston died, General P.G.T. Beauregard took command. The Union Army was stretched severely thin and had around 10,000 casualties, so P.G.T. Beauregard claimed victory and waited for the last attack till morning. At around 6 a.m., Don Carlos Buell arrived with nearly 20,000 reinforcements. The Confederates were quickly overpowered and were forced to retreat to Mississippi. The reason Shiloh's at number 3 is because it's just plain dumb. Why would you claim victory without even winning? He also waited to attack, which gave Don Carlos Buell time to move in, and then also lost more men. So it was an overall big blunder done by Beauregard. Coming in at number 2, we have the Battle of Antietam. So the Battle of Antietam was a gruesome battle with over 20,000 casualties. The battle took place in Antietam Creek near Sharpsburg, Maryland, and it was McClellan's Army of the Potomac versus Lee's North Virginia Army. Union forces outnumbered Confederate forces 2-1. Lee was heavily outnumbered and fought hard for 12 long hours. As the North Virginia Army was retreating, McClellan did nothing. He could have easily chased the retreating army and just did nothing. President Lincoln was not happy with McClellan and removed him from command. This is at number 2 because if McClellan just followed through and chased Lee's army, the Civil War would have probably been over much earlier. So this is a huge blunder on McClellan's part. And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot, we have the Battle of Chancellorsville, Virginia. The biggest this wasn't even a battle, actually. The biggest blunder in the entire Civil War is not a battle, but a moment that changes the whole war, and how it ends. During the battle before this moment, despite being outnumbered, Lee and Stonewall Jackson being outnumbered, they pulled off one of the best flanks of the Civil War, which led to a stunning defeat of the Potomac Army. After the army, Stonewall Jackson was looking around in the forest for more attacks that could be coming, and then, when he returns from his patrolling, he is shot by his own men accidentally. He shot 3 times and eventually dies of pneumonia. This is a huge blunder that altered the ending of the Civil War. Without Jackson, Lee wasn't the same. He didn't have the security that Stonewall gave him, and Lee ended up becoming a completely different general, and this ended up changing the course of the Civil War completely.